Starting. Yo, welcome to Beatppl podcast. I think it's episode 31. We taken a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back now. This is the first episode of 2018. I got my man Flux um
Hey, what's up?
in the chat. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm sitting in the car right now because it's dedication out here, man. I'm at my niece's birthday party. It's kind of winding down, but yeah. So I'm out in the car doing the show.
No, no. You on location. The man on location.
That's right. That's right. And they don't really have any need for an audio engineer or anything in there. They're not doing any synthesis in there
Right.
right now. Though they
Word
do. They
up.
do have.
But you know what? It would be dope if you could get the kids doing synthesis in there.
My
And then
daughter
all the
would,
adults be
but
looking at you like we hate him.
yeah, they actually have a little keyboard in there, called a fart piano, and that thing
What?
had me crack it up. Like it's a piano and it plays farts that are chromatically tuned, which I thought was hilarious because the running joke with modulars is that it's just an expensive
Is that
way to
it's all
make digital
farts.
farts. Yeah, synthesized farting.
No
And I
doubt.
looked at that thing and I was like, man, this thing costs like 20 grand less.
The only thing, but once you master the toy farting, does it get as good as the Euro rack farting? Is the
It
question.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. It's got pristine lo-fi fart samples. It makes me look at my Emacs a little sideways.
Word up. That's what's up, man. So hey, we
Yeah,
got
man.
we got Nam coming up, bro.
Yeah, I'm excited,
Um,
man. That's gonna be huge.
yeah, yeah. But you know what I find that's interesting is that and this stuff is probably common knowledge out there now. I'm hearing rumors that some of the most, some of
Not
the
rumors.
brands that we look forward, yeah, it's fact at this point.
Yeah, it's
So
facts.
some of the brands that we look forward to seeing are not going to be at NAM this year.
That's right.
So is it, are we seeing the end of an era, or are we just seeing kind of, social media and a bunch of different, like, what social media does for us and every brand is put us in direct contact with
Well,
the consumer. You think
well,
that has something to do with it?
let me say this because really there's a couple of different factors that we can look at. One is so there has been a trend in the previous few years, and I'll take it back to Native Instruments. Native Instruments were
Hmm.
one of the first ones that were like, we don't want to pay these fees that NAM is charging. From what I heard through the backstories is that there was a little bit of a falling out between uh, Native Instruments and the NAM organization, and they didn't like the fees that they were being charged, and they felt that they could get the press in other ways. The other thing that I would point out is that NAM is not really about press. Like it's not so much about consumers.
No,
That's
not at
why.
all. It's about
That's why.
distribution.
Yeah, that's why when you see people always asking like, "Oh, I'd love to go to NAM," how much is it to get in? And you're like, "No, no, no, that's not how it works. It's not for that.
Hmm.
It's you don't buy tickets to go to NAM because it's for music merchants. It's really a way
Yeah,
to for companies to hook up with distributors. And if a company already has an established name and is already distributing products and that infrastructure is already there with the internet, the
and all
question
those
is
relationships. Yep.
yeah, the question is as well at that point then why are you really going to NAM? And for the vast majority of us, it tends to be face-to-face meetings, maybe getting meetings that you wouldn't get otherwise. So for somebody like Dave Smith, who's not going to be there, unless they have something new to bring to the table to get people excited about and buzzing about and all that sort of thing, because there is a lot of free press going on. There's a lot of all the major media outlets are there, but really,
Hmm.
unless they're making other deals, it's a lot of money to do it, and it may not make as much sense for them. Now that being said, DSI is based out of San Francisco, which isn't that far. It's not that far of a
It's a
drive
it's a spit
to
away.
Anaheim. Yeah, so when someone like Moog says that they're not going to be there, it's like, okay, well they're flying all the way across the country, and you got to bring all that stuff, it's a much bigger expense for Moog to go there than it is for, or even a European company than it is for somebody like DSI. So for DSI not to be there, that's a little bit more surprising to me than some of these other companies. But I have seen a shift away.
Moog not being there. Here's what's interesting about Moog not being there. You know, I just went to the DFAM event at a place called Cactus in Echo Park in LA.
Yeah.
It was just Friday night, 2 nights ago. And
Mm-hmm.
Moog was there. And I was like, thinking about that, I was like, wow, Moog is here. And they're doing basically kind of like a residency for the week. And they may even be here around NAMM time, but I don't think that still's not going to put them, you know, they're not still going to NAMM, I guess is what
and
I'm
that's the other thing, is that the vast majority of these companies who aren't at NAMM are at NAMM, just not in an official capacity. Like, they're on the floor. Like, we'll be bumping into those guys. Like, every year that I go, I bump into companies who say that they're not going to NAMM, but I bump into them anyway. You know, they may not have a booth, but they're there, you know. Another thing is, and I don't know what the deal is. Like, I don't really even know what the event is fully, but Native Instruments is doing an event this year. I don't know if you got an invite to that also. Yeah.
I did.
So are you going to that?
Yeah, I'm going to go to that. And it seems like, I mean, if you think about it, it's perfect timing because they know everybody's going to be in town. And that's the key right there. If you can pull off an event that gathers everybody and then puts it in a controlled environment where it's your environment and not the circus that is NAMM, it probably is more appealing to these companies.
The only thing I don't personally like about that is there tends to be a lot of these events that are NAMM events, but they're not at NAMM. And I honestly, like, I RSVP'd for it, but I didn't actually look to see where it was. Like, I don't know if it's in LA or if it's in Anaheim. Like, did you look at that? So anyway, actually, my point being is that the evening stuff at NAMM, after NAMM itself closes down, for people that don't know, like, there's usually a lot of different things that are going on around town. There's different companies throwing different parties and different events. So it can be difficult to pick and choose what it is that you really want to go to.
Yeah, it really can.
I'm not 100% sure what Native Instruments is going to be displaying at this. I have a couple of ideas, but either way, for everything else that Native Instruments does, they do tend to throw really nice parties. So I do like to go to them.
Yeah, see, that's what I want to go. And actually, I just looked it up. It will be in Anaheim.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's dope. We won't have to go far. Let me tell you though, I haven't even booked my hotel, man. I'm slacking big time. I'm probably gonna be at a hotel far away from the place.
Well, that's the other thing, is that this year with NAMM, a lot of the boarding, like a lot of the rooms and stuff, from what I understand, the deals were not cut the same by the NAMM organization. I'm not 100% sure on this, so, like, I'll just say allegedly to cover my own ass. But basically, what I understand is, like, the hotel rooms, a lot of them were more expensive this year, at least as far as I saw. We ended up doing an Airbnb, but yeah, like, everything is completely booked up. I had a friend of mine hit me up the other day trying to go and couldn't even find anything within, 15 miles. So, like, they were out, so, but I know that
I'm not surprised.
I'm going to be doing some live streaming from the Airbnb that I'm staying at, which I'm going out there with a group of friends, and we're going to be doing whiskey tastings and all kinds of stuff at our Airbnb. So, it's going to be a live little spot. But normally just to clarify, normally I do not party at NAMM like that. Like, aside from going to events, but like it's not really the kind of event that you can relax and drink at and that kind of thing, because there's so much work to be done, So there's so many people that you're trying to meet up with. You're on your feet all day, So whereas at NobCon, it's like everything is in one hotel, and you can kind of let your hair down a little bit. It's a much smaller event, so it's a little bit more laid back. This, on the other hand, it's like, dude, if you had a hangover and you're trying to walk through NAMM, you might as well kill yourself now. So
That's true. Because NAMM is it's I don't know if people realize NAMM is in the Anaheim Convention Center. And that is a huge, well, any convention center is a huge place. It's usually about 2 or 3 square blocks. You know
and
what I'm saying?
it's gonna be bigger this year because last year and the year before that they were working on a whole nother section. They had it walled off, and that section is all open and it's all pro audio now. So like they have a whole nother section to the convention center that's gonna be open, and that's just touching on the party aspect of it, because it's the music industry. I try to let people know, I'm like, you want to be a little bit cautious on how you act about that, because not to single out the music industry, but there's, I mean, we all deal with performers and whatnot. There's a lot of people who have substance abuse issues and that kind of thing. You don't know what other people's history is. So to me personally, it's not, I try not to go into something like, oh yeah, we're going to go out drinking, blah, 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 like constantly, like when you're meeting up with people that maybe you don't know that well, because it's like, that could be kind of disrespectful to others, and, just not a good look, because it is a business opportunity first and foremost,
It is.
Like I'm definitely having dinner with some close friends on certain nights, but it's like, it's a business opportunity first and foremost. So you got to conduct yourself as such,
Yep, it is. And the thing about it is that you just never know who you're gonna run into and who's watching it. When you're doing business and conducting yourself, because this is really, here's what NAMM is for guys like us, for people that don't know. You go there, and obviously you're gonna be pressed and share all the stuff for all of our followers or people that frequent the social media where we display stuff. But the other thing about it is that this is the key to keeping the rest of the year fluid. You know what I mean? Because you shaking hands and kissing babies. It's the politicking circuit.
Yeah, and you get to make face-to-face contacts, which emails and Facebook and that kind of stuff can be great, but nothing beats meeting someone face-to-face and looking into their eyes and understanding what they're about and that kind of thing. So for me, that's what it's always been about. That, and the fact that we also get to meet up with a lot of people that we've already been working with throughout the year and previous years, and you get to meet them face to face and kind of break bread, as it were. So that's a huge thing. Now, as far as the gear is concerned, we always run to the same booths every year to start things off, and every year we're usually disappointed. I'm looking at you, Roland. Like they've done a few good things. I'm not saying that they haven't, but I'm bringing this up because every year I get hit up constantly about the same thing. Every year people hit me up and they say, I want you to go look at that new Roland sampler. And we're not talking about that new old Roland sampler. Like, don't you dare go repainting an SP404 and pretending like it's new, because that's not going to fly.
That's true.
So again, this year we'll be running.
Exactly what they did.
Again, this year we'll be running to Roland to see if they get their head out of their ass and come out with a new MV, or do the rumored what was the rumor, the ACB sampler?
Yeah.
That was the rumor last year.
It was a huge rumor last year. Yeah, it was a huge rumor last year, and all we got was more. I mean, I can actually say, after talking a little crap about this, I'm appreciative for this. But the point is, all we really got is more boutiques. We haven't seen any new samplers or any efforts towards new samplers.
Excuse me. The path that they started going down with the modular stuff, and more so just with the ACB technology as a whole. Then they did, some analog boutique. They did the JDXA, right, which was a very cool idea, but a lot of people felt that it wasn't deeply integrated enough, meaning the digital side and the analog side didn't talk together as much as they wanted it to. I'm still optimistic that they continue down that path and flesh that idea out, because they do have really powerful digital synthesis engines out there, like the V-Synth engine, man, like the V-Synth and V-Synth GT did so well, and everybody was all about it, and then they just dropped support of it. You know,
Yeah,
like they
yeah. They're notorious for that, though. They're just notorious for that. It's almost like there's a disconnect. They need to,
there's a big
you
black
know,
eye on
put
the
some
company
people in
about
the
that.
street. They need to
Yeah,
put some people in the
there's a
street
big
to
black
get
eye
their
on the
ear down.
company
Yeah,
because people are scared to buy their technology because they always promise,
they drop
hey,
support.
we're gonna support this in a long term, but then it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always happen. So, for instance, the System One,
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, keep supporting it. Like, where's the rest of the plug outs? Where is the non-Roland plug outs? Is what I want to see. Like, if you're gonna keep doing vintage synthesizer VSTs that or plug outs as they call them, start doing some
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's not Roland. Like, I want to see you've done a lot of the Roland stuff. That's great. I understand why you did it. Now start doing some other things. You know, why not do a CS80 in that thing? You know, like
Yeah. Yep.
do some other cool vintage synths and do some non-vintage new synthesis stuff. You know,
Right,
that
right.
thing is
Yeah,
plenty
that's the
powerful enough.
key. I think a lot of times what we have going on is there's this is the rehash era. Everything's being rehashed and redone. And while I gotta say again, I am appreciative for some of those things, and but I would like to see something new, like some new scents out there, some new takes on drum machines. Now, and speaking of drum machines or samplers, I should say, um, I do recall having I think his name was Blake from Yamaha on the show, and when he was on, he was saying, you know, we were talking about the MPC Live and the MPC X, and what he said rings true to me. I feel like this is the way Roland and Yamaha feel about the whole thing. Basically, let's see how the Live and the X do out there. If it makes noise and it's really like that kind of thing going on, then yeah, we're gonna follow the ball, or we're gonna, you know, throw our hat in the ring.
And
But
it looks like it has. I mean, you can't really
yeah,
argue
looks
the
like it's been
fact that
very successful.
now whether we can talk about bugs or software or hardware defects because we've heard different things back and forth. Like I've seen, I know a few people who've had a couple of MPC lives and had to return them, that kind of thing. There's growing pains with all kinds of different products. So I'm not one to scream and holler like, oh, the product is terrible just because there were bugs or there was this or there was
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I can understand growing pains, but the proof is in the pudding. The fact of the matter is that people, especially the live, in my opinion,
yeah. The
people
live
really
is
wanted a portable box that was super powerful that could do all that stuff. And a lot of people like, and the price point's not bad. Is it's what
mhm.
1,000? Yeah,
I
so
think it's 11.99, something like
close
that.
enough, close enough. But yeah, I mean that
Yeah,
price
yeah,
point
close enough. It's not much over that.
is acceptable in my opinion for a portable, you know, drum machine that can do everything that it can do. Um, yeah, my only gripe with that thing is that I just wish it had ADAT, really, and I wish they would put the pads on the right side.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell Dan Gill until I turn
Well, you
blue in
know
the
what?
face, pads are on the wrong side.
I got a
I'd have been
homeboy, man.
happy.
He's
I'd be happy if they made it so that I could literally just turn the unit around and then everything would work that way. Like give me a left and right
oh,
mode. I'd be happy with that.
like an iPad, like the iPad screen flips over if you turn it over.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
yeah.
dope.
Yeah. Your inputs would all be in the front, and that could be annoying. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, that
dude,
could be.
it'd be better than nothing because, like, you know, I'm right-handed, and granted, I know they want to say, oh, but the old MPC was that way. I don't care. The old MPC had flaws too, dude.
Well, let me
You
tell you
know,
though. Let me tell you, I got a homeboy that just, you know, he's starting to put back together his studio after years of kind of being out of the game. He's kind of getting back into the thing, and so he bought a used MPC Live. Well, he kind of by mistake bought both the X and the Live because the X was bought online. They were both used. The X was
oh,
bought
that's right, yeah.
online. Yeah, and something happened where it was supposed to be a canceled order because he was gonna get the Live, and they both end up shipping. But what's dope is that he ended up liking the Live so much he decided to keep the Live. So he got a Live and DeepMind 12, and over the X, he loves the Live. You know what I'm saying? He loves the portability as far as like being able to go around the crib inside the house and have it with him.
In all honesty,
He
that's why
likes
I'm buying one.
the shape of it, the style and the size of it. So I mean, those things are really mad popular right now, man.
Yeah, I actually did decide that I'm buying one, and I was kind of between the two, and then I decided I'm going with the Live because I want the portability. If the X had a battery in it, I might have chosen the X, but um, I don't like. So a lot of people would say, "Well, but Ken, you're losing the CV." For me, I'm going to use Expert Sleepers ES8 more than anything. So that's probably where I'm going to go. But the question is will I be able to use that in the way that I want to with the Live? And I'm not so sure that that's going to happen. But I also have MIDI to CV converters and that kind of thing.
Yeah, see,
So
that's the key. There's ways around it. If all else fails and you know that the Live is kind of the one that works for you and for the most part, you can get MIDI to CV all day. You know what I
and
mean? You can do that kind of stuff all
in
day
truth,
long.
I don't use my modular in that same way. Like now, granted, firing triggers out from the MPC would be cool as far as for drums. But the truth of the matter is, the way that I use the modular is I like the modular to be the modular, like do its own thing, and then let me sample my modular. So like I treat my modular the same way I treat vintage funk records, and you know I have a large collection of like early '60s electronic music. I treat my
Right.
modular that way when I'm making beats. Like I'd
It's the
rather
same
sample
shit.
it.
Everything is vinyl. Just like in the James Brown movie when he was saying to all his musicians, "What is that you playing?" Dude like trombone. "What is that you playing?" Dude like trumpet. "No, you're not. You're playing a drum." You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He was like, all of these are drums on the one. Like everything I got and all this synth and modular stuff, I just look at it like it's vinyl. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly. Like, and I don't always like my modular synced up to my DAW or my sequencer in that way. Like, I like the
Mhm.
fact that I'm getting this different timing and this different vibe. Like, I tend to not
Mhm.
sync them totally like that. Or if I do, I'll do something like a lot of my drums go through a BeatStep Pro. So
Yep.
I'll send clock to the BeatStep Pro or vice versa and have it sync to that, and that's my sync source. So like, and then I might send something to like Trigger Riot and a couple. So like I might have a common clock source, but other than that,
Mhm.
I don't need it. I don't need like my melodies clocked in like that or sequenced in
Oh,
from
but you know, I'm direct opposite. I gotta have it like that. But like my whole thing is I like to sync it all up, lock it all in, and go to town like that. However, the main purpose I got the Fluxus one was so I can get more into in the rack type of melodies and quirkiness. You know what I'm saying? And then use that to kind of sample out and do different things, man.
and that kind of high powered sequencer in a modular is a game changer as far as what you can do with your modular. So
Yeah.
like if you just start out with something like the RYO voltage controlled sequencer, which is a great sequencer, but it's very basic, right? You can do some
Hmm.
cool stuff, but it's when you get into things like Audio Damage has the ADM-01, I think it is, like their sequencer. That thing, you
Hmm.
can do full songs in that thing. The Fluxus One, you can do
Right.
full songs in that thing. Eloquencer,
Hmm.
you can do full songs in that thing. Like these
It's huge.
high-powered
Yep.
sequencers allow you to actually see the full potential of all those oscillators, all those filters, all those modulation sources, and use them in a really powerful way.
That's exactly what I felt like I wanted to kind of go to that next level. And I'll tell you, you know this though. I was kind of going back and forth between Fluxus One and what's the one you just named? I'm drawing a blank.
Eloquencer?
Eloquencer. I was going
Mm-hmm.
back and forth between those two. You know what ultimately did it is one, because I know Tenkai, and two, because it's less HP than the Eloquencer. And so, I was like, well, the Eloquencer has 8 tracks, this has four, but this does stuff the Eloquencer doesn't do. And then I know Tenkai is working feverishly on updates and all kinds of stuff. Um, so it just kind of made more sense for me to go with that. Plus, I like the fact that there's a 4x4 grid for the buttons, which is
And
obviously, where we
the
live,
buttons can
right?
do some really nice things. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
some nice feedback from them. I think they're both great sequencers, and they both have their own vibe. I like the Fluxus One a lot. I'm using it
Hmm.
to, and what I found about it is that you can use it in a lot of different ways. Like you can because of the way the timing is set up on that thing, you can use it as a straight 1/1, a 1/4. You can do really interesting things with it. Like if you set your timing much slower on it, and then use a lot of the per step arpeggiations, you can get some really beautiful sounds out of it that you would have never came up with on a different sequencer.
Yeah,
It has.
yeah.
Yeah. Do,
Oh,
do you
yeah.
have
So what I'm trying
a?
to say is, the it does that was a skip step, and what's
Yeah.
dope about skip step is it's reminiscent to me anyway of the Renee. The thing that I wanted out of Renee when I was kind of fiending for the Renee for like a year straight is, kind of that
The XY
that
sequencing. Yeah.
that XY sequencing exactly. So he does skip step, which is similar, but it's still different. It's kind of unique to what he does. I really dig it. I'm looking forward to digging in a lot.
And you can CV control everything on that thing. I mean, you can send it.
Word.
You can send it CV so that you get like a lot of interesting randomization. You can send it CV so that you're changing up what the envelopes are doing. That's the other thing, is that it has like, you can do per step enveloping out of that thing, which is crazy.
Oh, that's
Just
crazy. Yep.
that sequencer just as a whole is just, it's it's really changed the way that I do sequencing on the modular. And yeah, there's menu diving on it, but it's not that bad, and it's pretty immediate. Like the way that he has it laid out, it's fairly efficient, and it doesn't feel painful to me. Like it feels quick.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, I noticed that, man. When I scroll with the knob and I go through, I'm like, oh, there's the next page of the arpeggiator stuff. Okay. And then just the pressing in of the knob and scrolling around, like you can get around it pretty quickly. But hey, you know what? Mike Check just jumped on and he was saying that
Oh,
he
cool.
he said he said, well, he's in the chat. He was like, yo, Moog's not gonna be there. I wanted to try that new drum machine. So Mike Check.
I
Um,
bet money. I'll bet money that the
mm,
DFAM will be there on the floor, just not at a Moog booth. It'll be at other modular booths. I
that
bet
would be
money on it.
interesting to see. That would be interesting to see. I can't be surprised about it. But what I want to emphasize is that Moog's gonna be in town. You want to see that, especially Mike Check. You live in LA or around LA in the LA general area. Um, they got Echo Park, man, doing I don't know, they doing like shows and demos every night from the like all this week and next week. So you can see it. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I'm going up to that spot, the Cactus in Echo Park again on Monday, so I can get some hands-on time with it. But Ken, why don't you tell me? I don't know how much you know about DFAM, but what do you think about what they've been saying about it? You know anything about it?
I
Let me pull
mean,
it up.
I'm not. So to me, it's great for guys like St. Joe who,
Hmm.
they're interested in modular, but they don't want a big modular rig, or they don't want to deal with the hassle of cases and this and that and the third. And so it gives you a taste of that modular sound without having to really go the full route. Now, if you already have like a nice modular drum setup, it's not really, it doesn't seem to me to add a ton that you don't already have. There's some cool modulation aspects on it. Um,
Hmm.
and the price point's not bad. I'm not mad at the price. Uh, I think so. Their price on there is $679, but I think in actual stores you can get it for $599.
That's what I heard. It
Um,
was 599. I was surprised to see 679 on their site.
yeah, which isn't, like that doesn't, it's not an offensive price, especially for a Moog product.
Yeah.
Um, but to me, there's a lot of other modules out there that do the vast majority of that sound and that style of
Hmm.
sound. So there's nothing on it that wows me. There's nothing on it that made me like say, oh my god, aside from just, hey, Moog is doing a percussion module, that's cool. But beyond that, like there's not a lot about it that really gets me excited. Not mad at it,
Yeah,
but I'm
and
just not excited by it.
and part of the thing here is there's two oscillators. They can modulate one another, that I believe, and then there's an 8 steps analog sequencer. So that's obviously worth mentioning.
Yeah, yeah.
One is
And
eight
to me,
step,
I'm
but it's
like,
analog. Um, I wish it was 16 steps, but when it's a different beast. I can't necessarily say it's a drum machine. Um, it's
Me personally,
percussive.
for the money, I could think of other modules that I would rather get, and then if you wanted to pair it with something like a beat step or something, or or any of the other sequencers out there that you would want. But I mean, that sequencer is probably worth a decent amount on its own. So like the sequencer to me is the selling factor on there, more so than just the sound circuit.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll tell you, I saw um
basic.
man, my head is all over the place. So yeah, I saw Basic using this the other night at the Moog thing, and he wasn't using the sequencer on the device. He was using like voltage block
Okay.
and Varigate 8,
Hmm.
and it was nuts. I gotta honestly say, even people at Moog, I was talking to a couple of people from Moog that were there, and they were like, "Yo, what Basic did in that performance, I haven't even heard those sounds before." And he had a very basic setup. It was this, no pun intended. It was this. It was the voltage block. He had the Varigate 8. He had the Herb Verb and braids. And he
Hmm.
just went to town with that, and he did some crazy stuff. It was real dope.
Yeah, and
So
that
I
makes
do
sense. That
dig the
makes sense.
sound. Yep,
And
yep.
that's kind of the thing though. Is like to me, I'm like, it looks cool. I'm still waiting for Moog to. And I've heard some rumors. I've heard some rumors that they have something in the works that's supposed to be like, very different from the norm. So I'm waiting on that. Like I'm waiting for them to really surprise the synth scene. And I've heard positive rumors, so
Mhm.
we'll see what happens in the long term. But to me, this is a cool device. It's not for me. Like it's but I can see perfectly well the reasoning for it. I'm happy to
Yeah,
see that they did. So they've been with their advertisements lately. They've been really kind of pushing the female side of the scene, and that's nice. It's good to see somebody kind of just doing that, like as a whole, just you
yeah,
know
yeah.
giving support to
I
that
kind of
side of the
like the
scene.
idea that oh yeah, somebody in the chat was asking, does DFAM have MIDI? No, it's no MIDI, man. It's more geared towards kind of Euro rack sensibilities. So it
And
has a
pairing
patch.
with the Mother 32 and
Yeah, pairing with the Mother 32, so it has that little patch bay on the right side. And you can go to town with it if you got CV and Mother 32 or Eurorack or MPCX even, or any kind of sequencer that might have MIDI to CV type of deal.
hey Corey, that was the other big thing is that in their advertisement they specifically said Mother 32 ecosystem, meaning like
Right.
they're planning on more, more things in that form factor. So that's going to be interesting to see what else they come with in that form factor. There was some Moog um, Eurorack module ideas floated about a year or two ago, and there were some interesting ones in there. They had a really interesting looking delay. Um, I think they had a Bode filter or something. Like they had some interesting things out there that I'd like to see them actually come out with. So maybe they
Yeah.
start, doing some of that kind of stuff. Maybe they even start doing like versions of other things, other Moog synthesizers in that format. They had a while ago. I don't know if you're going to remember this, but
Hmm.
a while ago they did a Instagram post where they showed their engineers had a Moog Sonic 6 on the test bench,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they were
Yep.
exploring that. That is a very strange synthesizer, so I could see them doing something, in the modular vein or desktop vein, shrinking that thing down because that thing was meant to be portable to begin with. So
Yeah.
doing like a new
They
version
try
of
to
a Sonic
simplify.
6.
How do you? So I like the idea of the mother ecosystem that they're talking about. So it says the first addition to the mother ecosystem and synthesizers. So this is the. I mean, this format, this size format is theirs. Like, I don't know if they have a patent on it or not, but it's clearly I hadn't seen anything that looked like this before the Mother 32. Now you have the DFAM comes out. Um, I mean, it's been desktop since, but this is a very specific kind of format. And so that makes me wonder if there was some sort of, and I got no inside intel on this. I just have a theory and I'm guessing that we still haven't seen a Behringer Model D drop. I wonder why, right?
It did. It just dropped.
It
Like
just dropped. It finally came out.
From what I hear, it's like just now shipping. Certain like most of the
That's
places
dope.
haven't gotten it yet, but from what I understand, it is actually
Hmm.
shipping from the factory to distribution houses now.
Okay, well,
So
forget about my theory because I was beginning to think that maybe there was some beefing going on about this size format
no,
and
I
the
don't
fact
think
that it's a
so.
Model D, and that maybe it
No,
got held
and
up
if
or
that was
something.
an issue, then you'd have to take issue with things like System 1M, and uh, yeah, I don't think that's the case at all. But
The
it'll be interesting to see where they go after post fatty line, the sub fatty and the
yeah, 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 yeah.
sub 37. I really should say sub line because really the fatty line was originally like the little fatty and all that stuff. I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah. See,
but
you know that's the thing. Mo killed a lot of stuff, man. They killed a lot of stuff from their line. I mean,
so
the
now
Model
it's
D
just
was limited
sub
edition. The
37.
Voyagers are going, yeah, you got the sub 37, the little fatties are out of there. And you're going now they're
Is the
going into
sub
this
fatty
whole
gone?
other.
But
Hmm?
is the sub fatty gone? Like
Nah, the
I
sub
know
fatty
the
is not gone. It's the
so
subsequent.
subsequent 37 is there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the Voyager's gone. Voyager Excel's gone. To me, that leaves a big hole for a large
Mothership.
format,
Yep.
a
Yep.
large format poly mode. Like that's what people have been asking for years, and now I think they could do it. The problem is that will they do it in a price range that people can afford? Now, to that same effect, I'll talk about the Waldorf Quantum, which
Oh yeah.
to me is kind of a dream synthesizer in what it is, but that price point place
$4,500, right?
yeah 42 or 43 yeah, so over 4 grand places it out of the reach of what I'm willing to pay. Unfortunately, I just you know my, my,
You think they're
my
gonna
bank
have that
can't
at NAMM?
my bank account is just not built like that. I'm sorry. So,
No doubt. Bro, you could buy a car for that much. It's
well,
$4,300.
I could buy a car with my modular, but at the same time, we're talking about a single.
A single thing, right? No doubt.
Yeah, it's to me like I look at my modular the same way I look at like 19-inch rack gear. Like it's not just one thing. It's lots of gear. Whereas this is one synth for 42.99. Like, good lord, is it gorgeous and it does a lot of really cool stuff. But I can't fit that price range. Like I just can't
Man,
do
that
it.
price range is nuts, bro.
So, and that's Waldorf doing their flagship, which I'm not mad at them. That's their flagship, but it scares the hell out of me to think, man, if Moog is going to do a flagship, what are they going to hit? 5 grand? Like,
Right,
are
right.
we talking? Are we talking modal prices for these flagships that are, you know,
Yeah, that's kind of where that looks like that's the bar. Because I mean,
I'm not with it.
yeah,
I'm not with
yeah.
it.
See, what was do they still have the Model D on here? Or the Model E, if you ask me. So that's 3,500. That's a
Yeah, 34
flagship,
ninety
but I
nine.
still feel like with the Voyager Mini Moog being out of there, they still have room for a flagship because this is supposed to be limited.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just something else. And yeah, there's the Behringer for 299. Plus, you have
299.
all those other clones that Behringer's bringing out.
Oh,
The
so
OBX
there, that's
and
where I think if Behringer has a booth at NAM, and I don't know that they will or they won't, but if they
no,
do,
they're not going to be at NAM. They're not not in an official capacity. They're not going to be at
right.
NAM.
But at any rate, they got some. I mean, I just don't think that website leak was, you know, that
Oh,
wasn't.
it wasn't. It
Yeah,
wasn't. That was come on, man. Like
that's
anybody who bought that
planned.
story.
Right. That was a White House dodge. You know what I'm saying? One of those White House, kind of smoke and
Well,
mirrors sort of thing.
so so we can also say some specific things that we know for a fact have already been seen out in the wild. Like we've already seen that the MS 101, which is their version of a SH 101, they already showed a
Yep.
picture of a woman holding it last year.
Mm,
Like, so we knew that that was in the pipeline. They already confirmed, well, Uli confirmed in different forum posts the vast majority of those synthesizers already. So
yeah.
it's not like it came out of nowhere. That
Mm,
all being said, there's some things in that press or in that website listing that got me excited. But that
Because
all being
I
said,
hadn't heard about some of those things.
what I'm more interested in is, so they clearly have multiple synthesizer teams, not just the Midas team anymore. They have multiple synthesizer teams. What has me interested in is how the Midas team took a request, which the request was basically clone Juno 106, and then they added on to it a lot.
That's exciting. That's the kind of stuff when I say we can rehash synths all day, but when you get into a situation where you might start inspired by a particular synth, but you add and create something almost all new, and that's what the DeepMind 12 is. It's kind of at its root is Juno, but it's far beyond what any Juno has ever been.
So what I want to see is, once they're comfortable, they've done some reissues and they're comfortable with their synth market, I'm interested to see what they do completely original. Like I want to see original designs, and that's a big area where the haters are going to hate at is they say, oh well, it's nothing original. Well, DeepMind 12 had a lot original in it. You can hate all you want. There's a lot of original going on there. And what I want to see is them allow their engineers to be set free and do fully original designs, which I don't think that'll happen this year, but maybe in the upcoming year after that or something, that would be very nice,
Yeah.
Who else are we hearing about? Korg,
yep.
So Korg they've been kind of in the rumor mill for a while about a flagship poly. And on top of that, we can go back 2 years, was it, that I talked to, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, Tats? Tatsumi? Tatsuya or something like that, yeah. So anyway, I talked to him, and I kind of pulled him aside, and I was talking to him about the mini log and what they had in store for that. And he had confirmed back then that, yeah, they were working on a flagship poly that was not like just some portable little thing like the mini log. And it sounds to me like this is going to be the year that they unveil that. So I'm looking forward to see what Korg does. Yamaha had given us interest that they were looking into the analog scene when we talked to them. So it's possible we see something analog from Yamaha. And even if it's not, and even beyond analog, like I'm just interested to see something new from these main companies like that. That's knobby and not, we're not in the 90s anymore. A lot of the 2000s flagships were following the trend of the 90s ones, just with more power. Now we're into a new age where the proof has been there for a while, where they're seeing that consumers want synthesizers with hands-on control.
Yeah.
So imagine things like phantoms and motifs and that kind of stuff with full knob control.
Yeah.
Give us access to all those digital parameters with full knob controls. That's what a lot of us want. So I'm excited for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I gotta say, so I gotta bring it back to places like Electron. I feel like those dudes are kind of the edgy young company that some of these other companies should probably be looking at. Like, there's a spark there. We should be trying to figure out how to kind of hit those types of notes. Because I mean, when you talk about things like the Digitac, it may be small, but it's a powerful little machine. Then the MK2, for cats that don't know about the Rhythm MK2, for it to have the analog drum machine where you could layer your samples and analog drums on the one pad. Then
and you can sample into it now.
Sampler, so you have a sampler that you could sample into it. That's exactly like the Digitac sampler. And on top of that, it comes with a mono synth in it now. So that's crazy to me. Like, when you think about it, you got one drum machine, although I'm not a super fan of the 12 pad situation, but it still works out. So you got a drum machine, an analog drum machine where you can layer samples, plus you can sample into it, and it has a mono synth and one of the dopest sequencers on the market. I mean, that's pretty hefty stuff right there for that.
And these,
or something.
So the Digitac was a fairly big release for them, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly wasn't a flagship. It was, lower, the lowest price point of any of their products.
Mm-hmm.
That's hardware, I believe. And then they did the MK2 line. So I am looking to see, what's next in store for them. What's going to be the new product from them, and they're going to be at NAMM. So I'm definitely like, that's going to be one of the booths that I'm racing over to check out. I'm really interested in them. Teenage Engineering, they did the OPZ was like the most recent thing that they've been working on,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if that's fully out and up and running or what, but that really wasn't what I wanted to see from them. So I'm really
Okay.
hoping to get some news from them on something like, more
You think
full.
are you thinking of like a bigger OP1, like something that's
A refresh to the OP1 would be amazing because the OP1's fairly old. Now, granted, they supported the crap out of that thing, and kudos to them for that. They have really, like, where that thing was when it released to where it is
yeah,
now. They added a ton to that thing,
yeah.
but that was like, I want to say, dude, that was a long while ago.
It
I
was a
almost
good
want to say
long while ago.
I almost want to say like 8 years ago. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
at least five.
Oh,
Um,
somebody said the OP100. I can't imagine what that would be.
I would
So,
just like, and it doesn't have to be huge or anything, but I would just like to see them do more with that. Like, and now that, because that was their first product and they were really unproven, and now that they're a proven company and they've got some
mhm,
capital behind them, it would be really cool to see them like, kick some ass in that department because they're also really
it
nice
would be.
guys, and
They are.
I like seeing creative individuals like that succeed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. The thing too, I actually asked them before. I think at NAMM last year, y'all gonna do like a bigger OP1 or something that's maybe like a refresh OP1 on steroids. And I think they were pretty candid. They were kind of like, we like these smaller file, these smaller formats, and we like these little quaint new sort of things. So, but I mean, that still leaves the door wide open for almost anything. They dreamed up something that didn't exist with the OP1. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I
and
mean?
they could.
Totally.
The pocket operator line was a hit. I mean, they
Hmm.
could do something in that range that's like, like in the pocket operator slash Volca size area that is more fleshed out and or slightly more powerful. I'd be into that too, or even just more pocket operators too. Um,
Yeah, I feel like
they,
we always gonna see more pocket operators. I just feel like that's one of those things we're just gonna see from them, and they have a good habit of dropping pocket operators right at NAM too.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now on the
Hey, so here's another thing I wanted to bring up. Uh, Chase Bliss.
yeah, man, I'm
I,
so interested in their stuff.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
got this just last week, and I've played my roads through it. I got some videos to do on it, and I really want to
Now is
put
that the
people up.
vinyl one or?
Yeah, this is the warped vinyl
Yeah,
hi-fi. So it's the latest
yeah,
version of the warped vinyl joint. And playing the roads through it is like a dream. And look at that packaging, yo. The
yeah.
packaging is crazy. It's the little wooden box with a metal clasp. You know what I mean? Like that's sick. You got the
Yeah,
serial
I'm
number
very
in there.
interested in their stuff and Zivix, and
Yeah,
there's a
yep.
lot of cool stuff out of both of those cats that I'm very interested in. I got to get my hands on some of that and try it out. Once the studio's kind of back together, I'll yeah. I'm still in downtime mode because we just moved last week, so or actually no, 2 weeks
Okay.
ago we moved, but we just finished the move for upstairs yesterday, and we still
Okay.
have to move downstairs, which downstairs is my studio. So I'm
I
still
don't
a
envy you,
little ways
bro.
out.
Moving
Yeah.
is one of my least favorite things. As a matter of fact, the closest thing I'm doing to moving is I'm gonna rearrange the studio. I'm actually gonna pull everything out. I'm gonna paint in here, and I got a new desk that I'm about to go get. I finally settled on the desk
Now
that I like. It actually,
you're doing the table.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a table. It's like an IKEA dining room table, but it's the depth that I want. It's the height that I want, and it's real sturdy. It's probably one of the most sturdy tables they've ever made, if I'm
What's the price point on
correct
it?
about that. 399,
That's
and
not bad.
it's like
Okay.
a huge dining room table. See, because the thing is, if I get like an actual desk, like a studio desk, you know how that goes. And I need mine to be longer. So then that gets into the thousands of dollars range. And I'm not,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is the desk that I use as my studio desk is a proper studio desk by a company by the name of Zor and
Zore's dope.
ZAOR, and
Mm-hmm.
it runs $1,000, 999, and it's it's not huge. It's just big enough to hold, like, it's got slots for rack gear on it, and holds my holds a nice size keyboard under it. Holds, but
Mm-hmm.
the depth is something separate, and that's like, I don't put my modular on that desk. I put right now I had like the matrix brute on it, but to be honest with you, the matrix brute's too big for that thing. And that was dirty anyway, because every time I went down there to work, matrix brute sitting right in front of my
It
face, and
hurts
that's all I wanted to touch. So,
you.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how it
yeah.
is. When the
But
Matrix
that
Brute is around.
that desk is great as like a center area to start production, but then I still need a separate desk that is for a lot of the other gear. Like, my turntables have their own desk. My modular is on that desk with my turntables, and then I have another
Mhm.
desk for some larger keyboards and whatnot that I have, and my vintage MPCs and that kind of thing. So yeah, just a big, flat, deep dining room table type thing can be really useful, especially when you get those.
Yep.
You can get those little platform shelves that you can put right on top of it. Um,
Yep.
that helps
Perfect.
out a lot
Perfect.
too.
Perfect.
You know.
That's kind of what I plan to do. What I'm gonna, I doubt that I'll have enough space to put my modular rack on the desk with me, and I don't know that I would want it on the desk, but I do kind of want it more in front of me, a little more immediate than reaching the side. So if I, as much as I can consolidate onto the desk, is what I'm gonna do. Um, do that. So all this stuff you see, I'm gonna paint the room. If you look right about there where my hand is, you see that there's a little gray paint right there. Because if I take that
Yeah.
picture off the wall, you'll see spots where I've been testing different paint colors. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint and then kind of rearrange a little bit. And I'm even thinking, man, I haven't been sampling in a long time, so I may, take the wax out of here, put it in a different part of the house. So I don't know.
I'm gonna recommend neon
But yeah,
green.
that's the plan.
I'm gonna
Neon
recommend
green.
neon
Yeah, I know
green for
you
the
would
room.
recommend neon green. Hey, did I show you this? Have to
Oh, you got that
do
new
a
stylophone.
video on this. Yeah, the Stylophone GX, the Gen X1. So part of the thing is I just finished. Just for those that are checking this out, it's like the Beat People podcast is taking a hiatus over the holidays, like for the winter part of the 2017. So my latest review is this guy. That's up there. I have to do this guy, then I have to take care of the Chase Bliss warped vinyl joint. So I got a few things that I need to do.
Well, it's
And I
okay,
got a
man.
few things in my rack that I need to review as well. So I got some new episodes at some point coming on specifically on my modular stuff, the modular journal. But it's just crazy, man. I don't know where the latter part of the year went.
Well,
You
let
know
me
what I
let me
mean?
just say to that same effect. I'm in the same situation. I had to take a hiatus mostly because of the move. But yeah, so on my
And
docket
congrats
right
on the
now
trip.
is so Warm Star Audio, the Benz module. I'm going to be doing a review on that. I'm actually going to try to set something up tonight so that I have it at least arranged, because I do want to do a small video on that. The Benz. Then I also need to do another video on the ChordBot, because I want to show some more features on that. That thing's been pretty powerful to use. I've been liking that thing a lot, and I did
Yeah, I
finally get
like
a
what you've
hold
been
of.
showing.
I finally got a hold of a Machine MK3, which,
Oh,
typically speaking, I usually have the machines before they even come out. But I've been so busy this year, I haven't really been able to work with the machine team in the way that I, previously had. So a little bit of it is new to me as far as using the performance effects and that sort of thing. I wasn't really a fan of the Machine Jam controller, but so far the
Yeah.
Machine MK3 is really nice. So much so that I'll probably end up bringing it with me to NAMM because at the Airbnb that we're having, we're going to have some jam sessions. So I think I'm going to bring my machine with me. I was going to bring my Tempest, but I think I'm going to bring that instead.
That's dope.
And
That's
just kind
dope.
of jam out with everybody on that. But yeah, I definitely have a
Somebody's
lot of reviews
asking.
that need to come.
Yeah, me and we got a lot of stuff on deck, man. It should be a good year for like stuff that we need to catch up on and other stuff that we'll, just kind of be privy to that we'll be able to show people later. Somebody was asking what modules am I planning reviewing. So let me clarify. I don't necessarily do module reviews. What I like to do with my B-Boy modular journal is just kind of talk about how I use it and why I like it, right? And things. So
That's what we
what's
call
on deck for
reviews.
that? Yeah. So what's on deck for modular journal though is Lifeform's drum sequencer. That's actually overdue. I recorded it and my vocal messed up and I just haven't had a chance to get around back to it. So I got to do the Lifeform's or percussion sequencer. I want to show a little bit about Tetra, the Tetra pad, Plunk.
Oh, I'm real
I'm gonna be
interested in
doing
that one,
Plunk.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's real
Tetra
dope.
looks
I love
dope,
it,
man.
man.
I'd like to
Yeah,
actually see
and
you
and this
doing some
one's
stuff
kind of
with
old.
Tetra. I'd like to see you use Tetra combined
Hmm.
with Plunk, like just use those two modules together, man. I would love to see because I bet you could
Oh,
do
that'd
some
be dope.
really
That's a
cool
good
stuff
idea.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because what's dope about Tetrapad is that it has all those different modes where you can do drum pad mode or you can do, keyboard mode or chord mode and all these different things. It's a really dope like utility sort of module. And it's simple. It's not complicated at all. Um, so yeah, I got a couple things. And then I want to show people data, Mordax data. Firstly,
Hmm.
because those dudes are super cool. And secondly, because I feel like this is a utility that I've needed since I got into modular,
And
and
not to
I've
knock
been
data,
playing around and
not
yeah,
to knock data, because I agree. I think that's a fantastic module. I also have to do a review on. I got
mhm.
the new Siglent oscilloscope, the SDS 1202XE, which is
Oh yeah,
ridiculously low priced. It's like I think it's like 350 or something like that. I have to double check. It's dirt cheap for how beautiful it is. So shout out to them for sending that over for me to test and use. I'm going to be using that basically in all of my videos from here on out because it looks so good. But
yeah.
that
They make
and
dope scopes.
also shout out to a brand new modular manufacturer, Conjured Instruments. So I should have a Cloak and Dagger
Oh
prototype.
yeah, Cloak and Dagger. Word.
I'm going to have Cloak and Dagger prototype in the lab, hopefully within the next week. And that thing looks dope. It's basically an ARP Odyssey
Yeah, I can't wait to check that out.
filter, but you can
The
adjust the
CS80,
drive,
similar to the
and
CS80, right? Well,
it's
no,
different. It's different.
it's different.
But
Okay.
it's a diode ladder filter, I do believe, that's in this thing. But you can really adjust the drive, like, man, it's really dope. So I can't wait to do a video on that too. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I've been really looking forward to that thing for a long time. And Chris is a really nice guy. So the
Super
head
nice.
of Conjured Instruments. So um,
And not to
he
mention,
also,
he built my ornament and crime,
yeah,
and he does an incredible job with that kind of stuff. I mean, he does DIY builds for cats, and now I'm happy to see him, you know, his builds and his company blossom to its own line. So I'm
yeah,
excited to see what he got coming up.
yeah. So and as far as just touching back on NAMM real quick, Arturia is supposed to have some really cool new stuff. I'm
Mhm.
really looking forward to that. I can't say what it is, but I know that they got some cool stuff coming that we're definitely going to get footage of. Um,
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be exciting stuff, man. Actually, I know of a couple things. We both know of a couple things that's gonna be at NAMM that we can't quite talk about, but I can't wait until we can get back after NAMM and do another show and ham it up about all of that stuff.
yeah,
Like
there's going to be
officially.
this year is going to be interesting, man. What I like seeing at NAMM is what the trends are because they really let you know, okay, this next year is really going to be about this style, this style of production,
Mhm.
and this is where the industry is moving towards, and then that can kind of give you an idea. Okay, well, where are we going after that? So with some of the things that are coming from these different companies, I think you're going to see barrier to entry is going to be eased a lot this year, and you're going to
Mhm.
start seeing a lot more of the bedroom producers who maybe don't necessarily have or even want to have some ridiculous studio setup. You're going to see a barrier to entry drop down to where people can get a lot of the gear that they thought maybe was out of their reach previously, or get them into a position where hey, I can get certain sounds that previously like only the richest people were getting. So I'm really looking
Right.
forward to that because there's been a trend where I feel like the music industry is finally starting to get it as far as like hands-on control of things, analog, what analog is good at, what digital is good at,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, yeah.
just
There's no longer this thing. I feel like we're kind of coming out of. It's exciting to have this whole analog resurgence, but I feel like we're kind of coming out of the analog purist sort of thing, where it's like analog is dope for what analog does, but digital is dope for what digital does too. So
yeah,
we
yeah.
start
It's
kind of
it's
getting those
it's like
companies
the
to see that, and yeah,
post purist rejuvenation. Like I'm
yeah,
excited
that
for it, man. you know.
word.
And there's just there's just a lot to look forward to. And then on the pro audio scene, there's been a lot going on with microphones. There's been a lot going on with outboard gear coming down in price as far as like really nice
Oh, I got some dope
compressors and
monitors.
yeah,
I got
yeah,
some dope monitors on the way from a company that I can't name, but they got some new monitors coming out that are going to be competing with some very popular studio monitors that are out there. So as soon as I get those, as soon as I get the word, I'm gonna let everybody know about it. And just knowing this company, I know they're gonna be dope.
yeah, yeah.
So
And that's good
and
timing
that's
for you,
another
man,
that's
because
aimed at those kinds of yeah.
because I know that you
Okay.
were in the market at that same point, so it's perfect timing for you to be
Hmm.
able to do that. So you'll be able to give it a
Exactly.
really honest
Exactly.
look.
Exactly, man. And plus, I kind of know their previous, but at least I've had some experience with some of their previous products. So this will be cool to kind of see where they are. But yo, Ken, we should go ahead and wrap it up because somebody did mention that you look like you in the witness protection program over there.
I'm being interrogated, yo.
No, tell the truth. Tell the truth. They're gonna shine a light on
Slap,
you.
slap.
But yo, you got anything you want to plug on the way out?
So fluxwithit.com is about to have an explosion of content. So it's been fairly quiet over there because of the move. Uh, shop.fluxwithit.com is going to have an explosion of content uh, just just around NAMM, maybe just after. I'm just waiting for a few things to click into place. Um, just keep an eye out and Instagram at Flux302. I'll be on there a lot more. I'm going to be doing a lot of Instagram stuff from NAMM as well. So if you want to catch some behind the scenes stuff, definitely check that out because I plan on trying to showcase a little bit of the camaraderie aspect of NAMM through Instagram. So check that out. And
Yeah, that's dope.
youtube.com/flux with it. Do that.
Yeah, that's what's up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to now, man. I can't wait to see y'all out there. And you can definitely count on us bringing you the latest exclusive dope stuff from our perspective, all the beat makers and hip hop cats from our perspective. Um, yeah, we're gonna be
Roscoe's.
squatted up out there. So yeah, we definitely gonna do some Roscoe's. We might throw some you definitely will see some social media flicks from us at Roscoe's. Um, so yeah, be sure to stay tuned to fluxwithit.com and beatppl.com, bboytechreport.com, soundsandgear.com. Hey, what is it? Is it live? what's the joint? What's the site that the squad just put up? I can't think of the name. I'll tell you
Which
about it
one?
next time. The Ableton Live site that's dedicated Racks, Live Racks. Is it Live Racks by MSX Audio? So it's a lot of real dope stuff coming, man. And next time around we'll have some of the more usual suspects. And
I know
yeah,
Joe over at soundsofgear.com's got a lot going on too. He's putting up a lot of cool stuff too. So,
yeah, he's
and
got a lot of dope stuff coming.
what's the other site? Family Faith.
Family
What's the name
Face,
of the thing? No, Joe's other site, Faith and Family.
Faith and Family. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another one that's really dope too. So I try to point people to that as much as I can too, because it's just good uplifting stuff over there.
Yeah. And you know what? I gotta say, so this is our first show back in 2018. We took a bit of hiatus. Uh I can't wait to see what's on the grill for us coming up because I know there's a lot of dope stuff coming down the pike, and I'm happy to be back. I look forward to showing y'all a lot of dope stuff and building more camaraderie. So thanks for checking out the show. This is Beatppl podcast, and we'll check y'all out next go round. Yeah, definitely stay tuned with the NAMM coverage from all of us, the whole squad. All right, Beatppl.
Peace.
Peace.